Good morning and welcome on this beautiful fall cold morning. Glad to see so many of you here. I'm Lorraine Haricombe, Dean of the Libraries here at KU, and I'm very glad to see all of you here. Today, of course, is the last day of class, and so it tends to be very busy, but hopefully we'll all enjoy a nice breather once finals week starts and once the break starts. This is my sixth State of the Libraries presentation here at KU. And I believe this is the first one that we will be actually streaming via the web this morning to enable our colleagues at the Edwards campus and other colleagues around campus to listen in. So I'd like to take a moment to welcome all of you who are also listening in this morning. I'd like to start by reemphasizing the libraries and my own personal commitment to clear two-way communication with you, our colleagues throughout the campus. Our goal today is to give you insight into what we've been up to over this last year, and also to provide you an opportunity to learn why we are doing what we are doing, and to give you a chance, of course, to ask questions and offer your comments. Earlier this year, I completed my 5-year administrative review. I'm surprised that I've been here 5 years. It feels like I just arrived here yesterday. But it's been a good 5 years, and I want to thank all of you who participated in the feedback in that process. My leadership team and I set several goals for the period from 2006 to 2011, and I'm going to take an opportunity here to just revise and revisit some of those for you. In particular, stabilizing the budget following the decoupling of IT and the libraries was a major priority for us. We used a consensus process throughout the decoupling process to ensure a smooth transition to two separate healthy organizations on campus. As part of that process, we reallocated just under $250,000 to the library's base budget and successfully petitioned to hire one additional faculty member, as well as equip a technology-enabled conference room in Watson Library, one that is in frequent use on the 4th floor in Watson. Another top priority was determining the viability of scholarly communication as an ongoing initiative here at KU. I think it's safe to say at this point that yes, it is viable. In support of scholarly communication at KU, we have done a lot of exploration and advocacy for open access here on campus, leading to the adoption of an open access policy by KU Faculty Senate in April of 2009. We worked prior to that and since then to build the infrastructure that faculty members need to participate fully in the policy, particularly KU ScholarWorks, our institutional repository. In 2010, I was named the Provost Designate to implement the open access policy. I've continued to seek ways to support those efforts, including devoting 0.5 FTE to working directly with faculty to help them prepare and upload their work into KU ScholarWorks. And I invite those of you who are in the room or who are watching, if you're a faculty member or researcher and have not yet done so, I invite you to contact Ada Emmett about uploading your work into KU ScholarWorks. As a result, we have experienced tremendous growth each year in the number of works uploaded and made available in KU ScholarWorks. The result, as you can see, is a truly global reach for our faculty scholarship. The image you see on the slide here depicts KU located here in the middle of the country and the global reach around the world, and highlighting the significant research that's being done here. We've been fortunate in our efforts to have the guidance, the advice, and the advocacy of many members of the KU faculty. Dr. Mark Greenberg, who is in the room here this morning, professor and chair of the Slavic Languages and Literatures Department, and also a member of KU's Open Access Advisory Board, said, "I always keep the idea of knowledge as a public good in mind in doing work for open access. And I view what we do as part of renegotiating the social contract between universities and society. Universities belong to the public. KU is on the leading edge of the open access movement, and universities in the US and abroad have been looking to us for best practices. Dr. Nancy Baim, a KU professor of communication studies, said open access makes it possible for our work to be read by people independent of the university affiliation or the ability of a library to purchase access to increasingly expensive journal subscriptions. If our goals are to educate and to spread our ideas, we should be doing all we can to publish in ways that people in developing nations and outside academia can read. Supporting for-profit commercial presses that seek to limit access to our ideas works against those goals. One of our more general goals, but also one of vital importance, has been to position KU libraries for the 21st century. I am pleased to tell you that we are much better prepared today to meet those evolving needs of scholars than 5 years ago, having forged new partnerships and strengthened long-standing ones with a college, Student Success, the Hall Center for the Humanities, and others on campus. We have also transformed spaces in Watson, in Anschutz, and most recently at the Kenneth Spencer Research Library. These collaborations and transformational changes have enabled us to welcome the Center for Research Methods and Data Analysis and establish the Center for Digital Scholarship in Watson Library. The Learning Studio at Anschutz provides spaces that facilitate closer collaboration with the students, for example, the Writing Center and the tutoring services. The International Area Studies Unit in Watson Library provides a centralized location to consult with librarians who specialize in regions like Africa, Eastern Europe, Spain, Portugal, Latin America, China, Japan, and Korea. These repurposed spaces allow us to launch new initiatives, such as the Digital Publishing Initiative with more than 13 online journals now and several online monographs and monographic series, and helped establish the Institute for Digital Research in the Humanities. I'm proud to say that we are continuing to adapt and expand roles for librarians and appointing staff and faculty to lead our initiatives in roles such as Scholarly Communication Librarian, the Digital Humanities Librarian, the brand new Instructional Design Librarian, and the Digital Initiatives Librarian, as well as the search that's currently underway for our new and first e-science librarian. Embedding KU libraries in the academic mission of the university has been and continues to be another broad but important goal. As scholarship and research changes, so must we. To that end, we have successfully launched 2 new major collaborative programs with the college and Student Success and the Hall Center for the Humanities. With KU's current strategic planning process underway, there will be more opportunities, such as work related to distance education and the first-year initiative experience, to collaborate and embed KU libraries in the vital work of the university's teaching, research, and student learning. That's an ambitious list of goals. I'm fortunate to have a talented and dedicated team working with me to achieve them, and I'd like to take just a minute now to introduce the DC Executive Council, all of them here in the front row. So as I read your name, Beth, Deb, Kent, Jen, Mary, and Rebecca. Thank you for your leadership, team. I would also like to take a minute and to ask everybody who is here from the libraries to stand and be recognized for your passion, commitment, and pride in the libraries. Thank you so much for coming and for being here and for your continued work in the libraries. This past year, we have hired or appointed 4 library faculty members and 11 staff members. 3 of those 4 faculty members may be familiar names to you: Scott Henrath, Kim Glover, Tara Wenger were all hired from within as a result of their achievements on staff. Scott Henrath has just been named and appointed as Director of Integrated Technology Services. In this new position, which becomes effective January 1, Scott will oversee the library's Integrated Technology Unit. Scott is well qualified for this role. He has an ALA accredited master's degree in information science from the University of North Carolina and has worked in various information science and technology positions in research centers and universities. In his position with KU Information Technology, Scott worked with the libraries to develop services for KU ScholarWorks, the journals at KU program, information search and discovery through the redesigned KU Libraries webpage. We look forward to Scott's continued leadership as we create well-integrated library experiences for our users across many sources of digital information. Kim Glover is KU Libraries' new instructional design librarian and is already familiar to the many KU faculty and graduate students with whom she has worked as an instructor and colleague, helping them through the electronic submission process for KU thesis and dissertations, advising them on tools they can use to streamline citation and reference management in their articles and papers and more. Now, Kim has taken on a new role for us, providing instructional design resources to KU teaching faculty and helping them select instructional technologies that best support their instruction, whether face-to-face or online. In this work, she will develop, adapt, and revise research-related instructional materials, tutorials, and other digital learning objects for an array of disciplines, and work with other library colleagues to design, develop, and deliver, and assess instructional services to faculty, graduate, and undergraduate students. Tara Wenger was promoted to Head of Reader Services at the Kenneth Spencer Research Library. Tara has been a member of the Spencer Library staff since November 2006. Prior to her appointment, she served as interim head of Reader Services. In these leadership roles, Tara has worked to streamline the registration process, to improve the reference experience, and to collaborate with faculty in teaching using our primary sources. Tara previously worked as research librarian at the Harry Ransom Humanities Center, a research center at the University of Texas at Austin, and as a reference archivist at the Houston Metropolitan Research Center, Houston Public Library, and her research interests include copyright of literary works and access to cultural heritage materials. Elspeth. Last January, Elspeth Healy was hired as our Special Collections Librarian at the Kenneth Spencer Research Library. Elspeth earned her Master's in Information Science degree from the University of Texas at Austin, and holds a PhD and a Master's degree in English Language and Literature from the University of Michigan, and an undergraduate degree in English Literature from Brown University. Elspeth is knowledgeable in the book arts, special collections librarianship, copyright, materials preservation, and digital curation. She has jumped right into her work at KU, taking an important role as we received and began to process the tremendously significant gift of the Theodore Sturgeon collection, the definitive collection of that author's papers and manuscripts. I'm continually grateful to have such high-caliber team members like Scott, Kim, Tara, and Elspeth working for the libraries, and it is my commitment to support the provost hiring for excellence and continue to hire the best we can at KU libraries. We should hire people because they want to be at KU libraries. Most people think that libraries are in the book business. Others may think they are in the information business, but I've been around long enough to know that we're really in the people's business. Not in your business, but in the business about people. And these numbers highlight that fact. In 2011, our 7 library locations saw more than 1.5 million visits, the equivalent of each student at KU visiting the libraries 58 times. Librarians and staff taught 16,587 participants in 1,093 instruction sessions, and patrons checked out nearly 300,000 items and accessed more than 3.3 million articles online. About half of those visits, of the 1.5 million visits, were to Anschutz Library alone, by far our most popular and well-visited library here. Here's Anschutz during the previous spring semester finals week, during a 14-hour period. As you can see, it's truly a hive of activity during that time and during peak hours throughout the rest of the semester as well. Last fall at Anschutz, we celebrated in a very, very exciting way the completion of phase 1 of its new learning studio, an innovative centralized student resource center on the 3rd and 4th floors, occupying more than 26,000 square feet. Phase 1 brings together essential student services into a space designed for 21st century learning and study. The studio offers flexible study spaces, library services, the KU Writing Center, KU Info, tutoring and advising in one location. Learning studio partners include KU Libraries, Student Success, and KU Information Technology. We've created a nexus of activity and we hope productivity as well at the learning studio, and students have responded very, very well. I have a story about the furniture which we selected by engaging students for Anschutz Library. And the furniture, they like the furniture so well that they want to check it out at the desk to take it to their dorm rooms. This fall, with our partners in Student Success, including the Academic Achievement and Access Center, and with the leadership of Assistant Dean of User Services, Jennifer Church-Duran, we piloted late night at the Learning Studio, free drop-in math and science help for KU students. And that pilot just concluded, is it last night?
Yes.
Just last night. Spa Library has seen several improvements made very recently. This is our engineering library. Over the past few weeks, we have been working very closely with our engineering faculty. 10 new Technion workstations have been installed on the first floor. This is a net gain of 4 public computers in that space. We have added more writable walls and the group study rooms, replacing fabric with wall surfaces. 4 new laptop computers have also been added for checkout to the engineering library inventory, and we've also purchased new lounge chairs to replace worn equipment. The School of Engineering Administration has shared graciously with the cost of these upgrades. Looking ahead, we plan to collaborate significantly with engineering faculty to rethink the space in the new engineering building as they look forward over the next 10 years to expand the engineering school significantly for the state of Kansas. And many of you have no doubt already heard about this good news. Last January, Marilyn Stockstad, KU's Judith Harris Murphy Distinguished Professor Emerita of Art History, made a $250,000 contribution to fund a dramatic renovation and expansion of the 5,000 square foot reading room at the Kenneth Spencer Research Library. The project, which was expertly and thoughtfully guided by Kent Miller, our Associate Dean, and supported by Beth Whitaker and her team at Spencer, has truly transformed that space, making it much more open, inviting, more usable, and more perfectly suited for the important scholarly research that occurs there. Just last Tuesday evening, last week, we had a grand opening of that space, and I'd like to quote what Geraldo de Sousa, who is a scholar of that room and space, and also on the Library Advocates Board, said. He described it as, "It is a magic place of discovery, a laboratory of ideas. It embodies the very search for meaning, where the mysteriousness of the human mind unfolds." I invite you to take a tour to visit it and sit there and see what it does to your mind. We now have a new central service point in the lobby also, just under 2,000 square feet, to make using the library spaces, services, and collections much, much easier for visitors. The new reading room will accommodate a much larger number of patrons, and it has an enclosed teaching and consultation space for small groups. Because the collections in Spencer do not circulate and are stored in closed stacks, the reading room is the focal point of the library. Other practical improvements include better noise control, enhanced security, new flooring, cork floor from Portugal, upgraded wiring, lighting, and more power outlets. You probably have also heard that we are expanding our library annex with a second building, which will add 9,500 square feet to the facility on West Campus. The existing annex building is currently at 92% capacity, containing just over 1.2 million items. We have already broken ground on the West Campus for the expansion of that annex, and completion date is set for fall 2012. So we'll be busily identifying materials that will be moving to that space over the next few months also. Very busy place indeed. We've also made many changes to Watson on the 3rd and 4th floors over the past 2 years, culminating this year with a remodel of the integrated technology staff area on the 4th floor, adding approximately 8,000 square feet. This effort was led, as well as the CDS, by Assistant Dean Deb Ludwig. In all, we have made significant adjustments over the last 5 years to more than 80,000 square feet, which is approximately 20% of our footprint here at KU. A significant size of repurposed space, and all of this, of course, to remain relevant and to address the needs and expectations of you, our faculty, our staff, and our students. I'd like now to take a minute to talk about some of the highlights of the grants that we've received. We've been very fortunate to receive grants in the library to help advance our digital projects. And the following slides will highlight some of that. Thanks to significant collaboration between Spencer Library and the Center for Digital Scholarship, we have several digitization projects completed or begun this year. These projects gave the libraries the chance to share some of the more valuable and unique collections held at Kenneth Spencer Research Library with the world. First, the Sanborn maps. These maps document 241 Kansas cities from 1883 through 1922, originally created for fire insurance purposes by the Sanborn Map Company. They are now freely available online for historians, for architects, preservationists, city planners, and anyone interested in seeing how their city or town grew and changed during that period. The project was funded by a $30,000 grant from the National Historical Publications and Records Commission. The Pennell photographs, 6,000 images by Junction City commercial studio photographer Joseph Pennell, were also digitized and made available on the web, a selection of more than 30,000 glass plate negatives physically preserved in the collection. The Gould scientific bird illustrations. The John Gould manuscripts and publications form the centerpiece of the Ralph Ellis collection at Spencer, one of the best ornithological libraries in America for that period. Gould was a notable 19th century British publisher of illustrated bird books. About 6,300 of Gould's illustrations will be digitized thanks to a $71,000 grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. I encourage you to explore the maps, the Pennell collection, and other digital collections at the KU Digital Commons. The Gould project is still in progress and will be completed next year. In other news from the digital realm, about a year ago, KU Libraries with the Hall Center and with a college, created the Institute for Digital Research in the Humanities, and Brian Rosenblum was named co-director of the university's new institute. The IDRH was created to address a growing need on campus for digital services and expertise in humanities research, and supports and enhances research at KU. Its mission is to promote the use of computing technology to advance humanistic scholarship across the disciplines, to publish and disseminate scholarly research through new web-based models, and to study the impact of technology on society and on the scholarly record. The IDRH held a Digital Humanities Forum this past September here in Lawrence, right in this building. The forum brought nearly 100 participants from all around the country and London, from universities such as Emory, the University of Texas, Michigan, North Carolina, Illinois, Pittsburgh, and King's College in London, as well as the National Endowment for the Humanities and the National Institute for Technology and Liberal Education. The forum consisted of a boot camp, a set of in-depth hands-on workshops, an unconference for technologists and humanists, and a day of panels and poster sessions showcasing digital humanities projects and research. This was a very popular and well-attended event that truly offered something for everyone at every level of technological expertise. MALAS, or the Midwest Organization of Libraries for Latin American Studies, had its meeting here this fall, and thanks to Jana Krantz, head of International Area Studies, hosted a very successful meeting here. This is a group that promotes and develops member Latin American studies resources through cooperative and collaborative projects in the areas of collection development, preservation, and access. And Jana was the founding member of this organization several years ago. And it includes universities from across the United States, but this particular group is from the Midwest. I'm pleased to note that KU Libraries is taking a leadership role in hosting these types of events and others that increasingly attract scholars, not just from this country, but also from other countries outside of the United States. Another area where we've been able to show leadership nationally and internationally, of course, is open access. I'd like to think of open access as the distinctive competency for KU, with the libraries in a leadership role in that area. Since the passage of our open access policy in 2009 and 2010, we've taken a strong leadership role in forming a coalition with 41 other universities and colleges with established faculty open access policies in North America, including Harvard, Stanford, Duke, Concordia in Montreal, and others. Known as COPI, the group was launched just this past summer and will collaborate and share implementation strategies and advocate on a national level for institutions with open access policies. The group held its first face-to-face meeting just a month ago in Bethesda, Maryland, at the Berlin 9 Open Access Conference, where our own Provost Jeff Witter spoke at a pre-conference. It's my hope that this new coalition will offer academic institutions an opportunity to stand together and to establish open access to knowledge in the sciences and humanities as a broad societal norm. The University of Kansas has underscored its commitment to making scholarly work widely available by becoming one of the first American universities to sign the Berlin Declaration on Open Access to Knowledge in the Sciences and the Humanities. The Declaration's goal is to make scholarly research more accessible to a broad section of the public by using the advantages provided by digital and electronic communication. And Chancellor Bernadette Gray-Little signed the declaration during Open Access Week in October. I'd like to take a minute and just bring to your attention a call to action that will be distributed from the Provost Office probably as I'm standing here. We have received an RFI from the White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy to help build a case for open access as a national movement. The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy has issued a request for information asking individuals and organizations to provide recommendations on approaches for broad public access and long-term stewardship of peer-reviewed scholarly publications that result from federally funded scientific research. KU faculty researchers have an opportunity to shape future national policy here on public access to research funded by the public which also funds KU. So I'm especially pleading and encouraging the faculty and the researchers to respond to this RFI with your personalized examples of the research you do and how that might benefit others, citizens who are interested in your research and in science, and help them to benefit from the research that we conduct here at KU. So that's where we've been. I'd like to spend a few minutes now just to talk about where we are going. And I give credit for this slide to Deb Ludwig, who introduced it at a retreat last summer to us as a way to look at the role and the influence of libraries as change agent. As KU Libraries, I think we are directly involved in developing the vision, the strategies, articulating our values, leveraging our strengths and competencies to remain relevant to our stakeholders' needs here at KU. We have less influence perhaps in higher education, but we do have some influence through our programs, our services, and how we help shape the lives and the skills of those who graduate from KU, as well as our future professionals, to be successful and responsible citizens. We have perhaps less influence in leading social change because, although I would argue that the RFI I just mentioned is exactly an opportunity for us to shape national policy. And I like this slide a lot because it really articulates potential spheres of influence, even though it becomes less as we move further out of the core here. And I'd like to move over to this side of the slide and show you some of the areas where we as KU Libraries have already influenced some of the initiatives and some of the directions, both here at KU as well as in the larger educational environment. At the libraries, we will continue to be committed to increasing efficiency, accountability, and service to students, faculty, and staff. We are also continuing to undergo a period of rapid change. For our institution and for librarianship in general, we face substantial challenges that require us not only to lead and advocate for those we serve, but also to innovate, anticipating and developing the skills and the organizational frameworks that will best support researchers in the future, while also carefully managing the resources entrusted to us. As many of you are aware of the Church-Duran consulting group, who was very actively and very busy in the libraries over the last fall. I'd like to share with you just some of the business cases that we reviewed with them. Happily, we are not subject to being tracked and implementing those business cases, as you have seen from the Provost Office. But very quickly, let me introduce to you some of the business cases that we have discussed with them. KU Libraries were part of the Changing for Excellence review at KU. Although none of the 6 business cases from this review were selected for implementation, the information we gathered through that process will also be useful in our own strategic planning process. So I'd like to provide this short overview. The first one, they said, and many of you have read this and were outraged, that they thought that we were overstaffed here at KU Libraries, right? All of you were outraged about that. So as we worked with them, it was very evident that many of the other libraries, our peer libraries, the ones that they selected for the study, were significantly impacted by budget reductions. I'm happy to say that at KU, the libraries were held harmless when it came to budget reductions. And that helped us to retain our staff. We were happy to retain our staff, and in fact, we were able to hire during this time. So our library data may overstate the staffing situation here at KU, since forced budget reductions at peer universities resulted in library staff reductions there. We expect anticipated natural attrition and movement of the library's workforce will impact staff costs within the next 5 years, of course, though it is difficult to estimate exactly what our uniqueness in this regard would be. The second business case plan had to do with expanding purchase on demand, or better known on campus now as DDA, demand-driven acquisition, to reduce the acquisition cost of monographic material. Collections expenditures may be preserved through the expansion of KU Libraries' demand-driven acquisitions pilot program, though overexpansion may impact service levels and the long-term quality of KU's collection. I'd like to reaffirm here that we continue to buy books. We know that we have to buy fewer books. We cannot, under the new normal, continue to buy what we were able to buy before. We were never able to buy everything as it is. DDA is one strategy. It is not the only strategy. It's one strategy in our toolkit to help accomplish that goal. Third case. Assess the use of journals purchased as part of the big deal bundles to produce more effective collections spending. There's preliminary evidence that universities can save money by breaking the big deal. And I'd like to submit here that we are very, very conservative and very careful and thoughtful as we look at the big deals. And when these contracts expire, we will do the assessment to make sure that they are cost efficient for our research profile here at KU. The next plan. offer storage spaces in the annex to non-KU institutions to generate some revenue. The planned installation of the second annex that I described presents an opportunity to either generate revenue through leasing agreements or clear campus space in the libraries by accelerating the pace at which we would transfer materials into that space. The idea there was that we might look into getting some extra funding for the libraries by basically getting renters or leasers. Next plan, reassess the library fines to create modest increase in income. I didn't realize that we were not charging as much as some of our peer institutions when it comes to fines. I don't think we jumped in and said, well, let's charge everybody a little more so we can make money off that. But the exercise was very helpful to us to see just how complex and convoluted a process it is to pay a fine here at KU. It gave us, and I think we are almost done, reviewing the policy and working with others on campus to streamline that process and make it much more user-friendly so that people will want to pay their fines on time. The last one has to do with consolidating library operations and activities across campus. As you know, the law library, and Joyce is in the room, and the medical library do not report to me as Dean of Libraries. This exercise gave us an opportunity to really review and identify areas for closer collaboration, if not consolidation, across libraries at KU. Not KU libraries, but libraries across KU, including the medical library and the law library. Another major consideration for libraries moving forward is securing sustainable funding models. One of my goals upon embarking upon this position 6 years ago was to re-engage and reconnect and invigorate the many friends and benefactors who have long supported KU libraries. Towards that end, I created a new Office of Communications and Advancement to develop a strategic communication plan that would focus on our stakeholders, our message, and our outreach efforts to KU and to the community at large. Through local events and programs, we quickly raised awareness of the work of our librarians and our staff, the strength of our collections, and our impact on campus in scholarly research, teaching, and learning. I'm happy to say that until I saw this number, I had no idea, but I evidently had a very active social life. Over 5 years, we've had 85 events, and I blame Rebecca for shaping my social life in Lawrence. In a short time, our average attendance grew from 25 people in the early years, 4 or 5 years ago, to now more than 100 people per event, with an event last year topping at 350 attendees. Corollary to these efforts, we've also seen significant growth of private dollars, especially from our local Lawrence supporters. Not surprising there, because people who live closer to the university see the benefits of the university and know more. And so we are very pleased about the local support we've received. In fiscal year 07, alumni and benefactors in the Lawrence community gave less than $9,000 to support the libraries. In fiscal year 11, the amount had increased to $353,000. We are seeing similar growth across the board. In fiscal year 07, all alumni and benefactors combined just gave under $277,000 to support the libraries. In fiscal year 11, that number's increased to more than $524,000. And for this year, we are 6 months away from the end of this fiscal year, we have already raised $900,000 in gifts of cash and collections, with several months left to go. Our significant outreach efforts and the resulting increase in giving provided the basis to successfully petition KUEA for a staff member to help us, and in 2009, we were lucky to receive a 0.5 FTE position to support our fundraising efforts. To further strengthen our advancement work, I launched the KU Libraries Board of Advocates, and some of the advocates are in the room, including our current chair, Barbara Shawan is sitting right here. We started with a board of 13 members in 2008. By December 2010, the board had grown to 31 members with diverse backgrounds and affiliations to KU from Lawrence, the state of Kansas, and beyond. For more information about our board, you can go to our website. One of the outcomes of the board's work is the VOSPA Society, a membership organization launched in 2009 and honors all those that demonstrate interest in and support for KU libraries. Last fiscal year, more than 700 people joined that society by making a contribution of $100 or more. If you want to join, please go to the VOSPA Society website, at the KU Libraries website. So our private dollars are very, very important. They allow us to improve our facilities, to buy equipment, to acquire specific library materials, to offer student employee awards, and to promote KU Libraries' purpose and mission through events and programs on campus, in Lawrence, in the state of Kansas, and well beyond. Fundraising has been challenging in recent years due to the economy and limited campus development support added to that challenge. Notwithstanding these challenges, we have seen steady increases in monetary gifts to KU libraries and some outstanding acts of individual generosity, including Dr. Marilyn Stockstad's gift that I mentioned before to create the brand new Marilyn Stockstad Reading Room, which I mentioned earlier. We also received a cash gift of $100,000 from Dr. Charlie Stancifer, KU Professor Emeritus and longtime advocate and supporter, establishing the Charles Stancifer Fund for Latin American Literature at KU Libraries. That gift follows close on the heels of a gift of more than 20,000 Latin American books, pamphlets, and papers, Charlie's personal collection. This year, the libraries were also honored to receive a $100,000 gift from the estate of Dr. Edwina Gilbert, Professor Emerita of English at KU. She was another longtime supporter and Libraries Board of Advocates chair. I'm sure many of you knew Edwina and mourned her passing, as we did. The support of individuals like Marilyn, Charlie, and Edwina gives us the resources to establish and continue a tradition of excellence, and they inspire us with their passionate advocacy. We also look forward to the upcoming capital campaign, Far Above. We anticipate a fundraising goal for the libraries of $4 to $5 million during this campaign. It's an 8-year campaign which started in 2008 and will go through 2016. And I feel confident in our ability to secure funding for our campaign priorities. These priorities are in part determined by our new strategic planning process. Just a month ago, we began the strategic planning process, a group of 22 people, including the law librarian and the medical school librarian, to address these changes, challenges, and commitments. I expect this process to yield a comprehensive, specific plan by the summer of 2012 that will give us a clear roadmap to follow. The Strategic Planning Steering Committee has already begun meeting every Thursday. In fact, we're meeting this afternoon. And they've already performed an initial environmental scan. We intend to align our strategic plan with a larger university strategic plan called Bold Aspirations. We are also reviewing and incorporating information from the professional societies where we belong. And we will now ask Jen Church-Duran, who is leading that effort for us in the libraries, to come in and give you just a quick update of where we are.
This way. I do not have the dean's height, so I need to adjust there. Thank you. Thank you, Lorraine, and thank all of you for being here today. Andrew Dillon, the dean of the School of Information at the University of Texas, recently wrote, "Academic libraries will survive as long as they're universities. However, libraries cannot thrive without aligning their workings directly with the core mission of their host institutions." And as Lorraine noted, the core mission at the University of Kansas right now and the goals that support that mission are outlined in the Bold Aspirations document. That document really re-emphasizes the campus's dedication to transformational change and commitment to growth in the areas of undergraduate education, doctoral education, research and discovery, and engaged public scholarship. As a research library, there's no question that we exist to further these activities, to support these activities, but more importantly, to partner, to collaborate, and to lead some of these activities that will enhance the university overall. We were fortunate that the library's planning cycle came on board right as the strategic plan for the campus came online. And so we made a decision to directly use a framework similar to the campus plan in the library's plan, both in process and in plan structure. That way we share the same definition of goal, of outcome, of strategy, of action that the university is using, and it makes it a little easier for us to align our responsibilities and our priorities with those of the campus. It also puts us in a great position to advocate for the libraries as agents of transformation, of development, of growth, and opportunity here at the University of Kansas. We have started our strategic planning process, as Lorraine noted, with a steering committee. The steering committee consists of staff and faculty from all areas of the library. We've been meeting every Thursday. The first part of our work has been really based, well, our whole work as a whole is based on 4 questions. Where are we now? Where do we want to go? How are we going to get there? And how will we monitor and determine how successful we are in those endeavors? And the steering committee has been working on that first question, where are we now? Looking at the campus plan, looking at, as Lorraine mentioned, our professional organizations, what we see out in higher education, what we see out in librarianship, and how that comes back to the campus. Right now we're on that next question, where do we want to go? What are our key strategic goals and the outcomes we associate with those goals that are going to move us forward? Once the steering committee has determined that work, we will then be moving into working groups to help us figure out how we're going to get there. These working groups will be drawn from, again, folks throughout the library, throughout the campus, in trying to determine those strategies and those actions that are going to propel us forward in meeting our goals and in meeting our objectives. It is my honor to be able to chair this committee and to see the passionate, feisty, and dedicated enthusiasm of our faculty and staff in their incredible love of the work that they do, of the organization that they serve, and of this greater campus community. And I am absolutely sure that the plan that we finalize will be critically important to the structure of the libraries to come, and will, again, move us forward in ways we can't even anticipate now in supporting the university, collaborating with our colleagues across the university, and in growth and development overall.
Thank you, Jen. I anticipate that, as Jen said, we will need to take on new roles and perhaps even organizational forms and structures to meet the needs of 21st century scholars. I encourage you to engage with us now and throughout the coming year to learn more about what we're doing and how you might lend your continued support and advocacy. That concludes the formal part of the presentation. I am now happy to take any questions you may have or any comments you may wish to offer. Yes, Mariama.
2 points. One is I really want to commend you for the late night at the libraries. I had a brief exchange with Tammy about having basically a sleep in at the library, because I was talking to my students about the difficulties they encountered in using the library. And so at 7:30 in the morning, which is my class, you can convince students to do anything because most of them are half asleep. So we talked about what problems, and the problem, they just don't know the library, didn't know how to use the library. So I suggested, why don't we spend enough time there and do sort of a treasure hunt, as it were. And then just as we were about to plan that, then I saw the announcement of the late nights at the library, and they've been taking full advantage of it.
Wonderful.
And it really made significant difference in the kind of resources they were expected to use in the papers they were. This is a freshman class. And so I think that physical space and place in the library makes a difference. I mean, we talk a lot about technology and the impact of technology and how people can log on from their bedrooms, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there is something to be said about physically being in the space and understanding where things are. And as I said, coming from sort of an old school approach, the only way I knew to do that was to actually be in the library and look for things. And if it took you long enough, if it took you too long to do it, you might have to be there all night. And that was the principle behind it. So plan to stay all night. It wasn't really stay all night. It was plan to finish the project in the library. Don't go home and try to finish it in the library.
That's
so
wonderful.
I think that, I would really, I don't know how many ways you can organize that, but I think we have this wonderful space.
Yes.
And you're right, students really enjoy, lounging in the chairs and all of that, but some of them don't even, particularly early in their career, graduates and students, don't know the value of the library because they haven't been actively using it. They come from places that have not emphasized that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that as much as we intellectually engage them, I think we need to physically engage them as well with the library as a space. So I want to thank you for that. The other thing, I want to challenge you on your notion that the library is not a place of social change, because I actually disagree with that.
I think we said there's
That it was a less.
but I think there's opportunity to increase because I think we can shape some of that.
And I say that because I think the record of social change, library as exhibit space,
Correct.
library as documents pertaining to, I don't know how we would know that history and build on it without that information.
Yeah.
So I think you do play a really central role. I don't think it's lesser. I think it's really absolutely central.
I think we need to elevate probably
I think-
that significance of that more.
I think you might actually, in some of the programming, talk about historically what libraries have done. They're reopening the Black Archives in Kansas City.
Yes.
And one of our own grad students become executive director. And it won't open until June, but the whole point is it will carry libraries.
Right.
I think giving us a chance to learn more about the role of libraries historically in social change might in fact contribute to that different.
Yeah, it's absolutely
value.
part of our mission, preservation of the human record, so that others might have that information for future research, etc. But thank you for your comments. I always think of the libraries as, that crossroads. We talk about Anschutz libraries as that crossroads. And I also like to think of it as that third place. It's not the dorm room, it's not the classroom, it's that third space. And they can literally stay in Anschutz libraries for days without ever having to leave it. They can literally stay there because they've got everything right there. Other questions or comments? Well, there's more food at the back of the room. There's more cider, I think, as well. I thank you all for coming out. I, again, would like to call your attention to the RFI that will be distributed today. And if not you, encourage others you might know who might be good candidates to respond to that particular RFI. Thank you so much, and thank you again for your support of KU Libraries.